Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Recording
you.
na po.
All right. So I want to talk about um, what kind of questions that you might ask when you have statistics looking at group differences, right? So I'm going to begin with, when do you use a research problem versus when do you use a research hypothesis? Because some of you would state your problem in a hypothesis form, others would state it in a problem form. Now, in general, we know that when the goal of research is to sort of describe without specifying the specific relationship in the variables, then that's a research problem, as opposed to a hypothesis when you actually suggest the nature of the difference, right? So for example, the question, are there generational differences, okay, suggests you're just saying that there will be a difference, but you're not saying the nature of the difference, right? But for example, when you say there is a difference, when you know for a fact, or when there is literature to back up that you expect to find a difference, then you can state it from a hypothesis perspective, right? So there is a difference between genders on work-life conflict. And when we talk about hypothesis, two types. So a non-directional hypothesis, where you don't specify the difference, and a directional hypothesis, where the direction is specified. So for example, when you say that female will report greater work-life conflict than males, then that is a directional hypothesis. Okay? Questions? Any questions?
Ma'am, what if you want to do both? Like you want to be able to you want to be able to describe the phenomena, and then you want to be able to explain it after the fact. How do you
When you
kind of
say
plan?
after the fact, Carlos.
Like you've described the phenomena, and then
Mhm.
you want to explain why it happens. So then there becomes a hypothesis, right?
Well, no. In general, kasi when you say after the fact, meaning you already have your results, right? Tama ba yun? So you don't
Yes.
know it at the beginning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the basic question is that you need to ask yourself when deciding first whether you're using a research problem or hypothesis is, first, is there any previous literature or evidence that on this topic, on these differences that you're looking at? Okay. So when there's literature already, for example, that says, yes, women have experienced greater work-life conflict, then you can go straight into a hypothesis. But if there's not a lot of literature, or when the literature is conflicting, some studies say yes, some studies say no, then you can choose to state it as a research problem. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's why in the exercises, I don't know if you noticed, but in this coming exercise, I now ask for a little bit of introduction, which means that parang before you dive into formulating a research problem or hypothesis, parang skim the literature first, at least a little bit, because I noticed that um, you can actually do both, right? Pose a hypothesis or pose a research problem, but more than just parang doing an exercise for the exercise sake, I also wanted to help you be able to distill when it's appropriate to state a problem versus a hypothesis. And the basis for that is previous literature. Kung wala kayong mahanap, state a research problem. Kung meron na, state a research hypothesis.
Ma'am,
Yes.
I have a question po. About the literature, should they be published studies po, or is our online articles okay?
In general, in the academe, parang published studies are preferred because kasi peer-reviewed siya, vetted siya. Kasi 'di ba, kung online, parang you don't know the quality and right now parang anybody kasi can post online. So you don't really know the quality of that. Unless siguro that maybe some exceptions might be if they are reputable sources, like kunyari, ano ba, Gallup, yung mga ganon, na hindi
Okay.
academic, pero reputable. So, wag galing sa blog or, yun, kasi maraming ganon na parang hindi mo alam kung saan pinaghuhugot yung sinabi nila.
Okay. Thank you. So, ma'am, it's okay po if, let's say, we can't really find a lot of published studies about the topic we want to explore sa exercise. We don't really need to put lit naman po sa intro.
Para sa akin, the reason why I'm asking you to do an intro is just to see what's out there. Para lang meron kayong basis for stating your problem. So it's not a large part of your grade. I mean, for me, obviously, because this is quanti, the largest percentage of weight will still come from the analysis and the results. But para lang matuto na rin kayo dun sa conceptualization and stating a hypothesis or problem. That's why I want you to kahit paano, kahit ano lang, kahit konting basa lang about the topic.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. All right. Any other questions? Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
In a lot of studies I've read so far in my classes, no, I noticed that most studies always have both the research problem and the hypothesis. So parang they'd be like, we'd like to find the difference between workplace and gender, and we hypothesize this or that. Is that something we should be doing also?
It depends on the lit. If there's not enough lit to hypothesize, you don't have to.
Okay.
Because there are just as much journals that don't have hypothesis actually. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so some tips in writing your problem or hypothesis. So one, it should be as specific as possible, yet stated concisely. So take out unnecessary adjectives or words and state it as briefly as possible, okay? And then when a number of related purposes or questions are stated, they should be presented in a logical manner, okay? So parang if you have 2 to 3 questions, and that's why one of the things that I'm encouraging you to do is to find variables that are related to each other. Parang may sense of cohesion yung ginagawa ninyo, okay? And then identify the construct or variable you're testing, not the measurement scale. So you don't say, for example, are there group differences in the mental health score, parang ganyan, or the scores on SRQ or scores on DAS. That's not the way, right? So what is the construct? It's depression, for example. So are there differences in depression? So we don't cite the variable name nor the measurement tool in the research problem. So you may reference your sample. You might say, for example, what is the state of satisfaction of Filipinos, right? But don't include the phrase in this sample, right? Because the purpose of sampling is to generalize to a larger population, okay? If a comparison is being made in a hypothesis, the comparison group should be named. So for example, you don't say men will have less mental problems. You have to say compared to, right? So parang who you are comparing them to, okay? Use plural form, so men, women, youth, okay? Use present tense, okay? Should be free of unnecessary terms and phrases. Should names the variables as they occur. What does this mean? So, for example, you are doing a test of, for example, you want to look at what are the variables that differentiate mental health, right? So when we say name the variables as they occur, there's an implicit assumption there that the DV, right, is the mental health, right? And then your IV would be your variables like age or gender, right? So the way that we might state that is that there will be a difference in, or there are differences in mental health, right, according to age or and gender or something like that, or you can differentiate those two. And then when you write up your research problems, you write up your problem in the order of how you stated the question. So for example, if your first question was difference in age, in your result section, your first analysis should be about age. If your second question is about gender, then your second analysis should be in terms of gender. So parang dapat may cohesion yung order ng questions and the order also of how you write up your result section. So parang don't jumble your analysis, that parang you want mas clear cut na ito yung question, ito yung results. Okay? Ano pa? Avoid using the word significant, don't use the word proof, and then avoid using two terms to refer to the same variable. So for example, mental health. Okay? So you can't say that, parang you can't say people with mental health, men who experience mental health will seek help less compared to women with mental illness. So parang even if you think those two mean the same thing, you can't use different phrases for them. Okay? Questions? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna break you up, all right, into groups right now, and I'm gonna give you a little bit of exercise. I'm gonna give you an exercise, okay? Can you note? I don't know. Did you take a note of these tips? You wanna screen capture this first? Sorry. Okay. So I'm gonna. Okay. Did you get it, guys? So I'm gonna break you up into 3 rooms, okay? And then I'm gonna give you a little bit of exercise, okay? So, all right. So, sorry. Can you screen capture this then? Do you guys see this? All right. So group 1, I would like you to take sorry, how many of you are in the group? 4 pa lang. 20. So I'll break you up na lang into 4 groups, sorry. 4 groups. All right. So group 1, if you're in group 1, can you take questions 1 to 3? Group 2, can you take questions 4 to 6? Group 3, can you take questions 7 to 9? And group 4, can you take questions 10 to 12? Okay, so what are you going to do in the group? You're going to critique the following problems or hypothesis. And then, so is it okay? Is it not okay? If it's not okay, how would you improve the problem or hypothesis? Okay? Question about the exercise? Shucks. Sorry. Breakout rooms. Okay, questions? None?
None po.
Sige. So I'm gonna give you 15 minutes for the 3 questions. O sige, 20 minutes para may konting time. Kung maaga kayo matapos, you can take a quick break. But we will come back at 10:15. Okay? All right. Enjoy.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, hello. Ayan. Ano, lagi tayo magka-group. Hindi ka ba sa... Go pa. Let's go, let's go.
Which group are we? What group number are
We're group 1, we're group 1.
Okay.
Ang sabi sa breakout room, group 1 tayo.
Okay.
So we're looking at the first 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. First 1, 2, 1. First 3 or first? Yeah. I sent sa Facebook group yung screenshot ng writing problems hypothesis.
Nice. Thank you, RM.
Si Mike yung nag-screenshot niyan.
Thank you, Mikey.
Okay, so what do you do?
I guess first things first, no proof.
Oh yeah, wait lang. I-type doon.
And I guess we don't really have to mention that this is our hypothesis because most hypotheses I know just state it out right away.
Yeah.
It feels clunky. I think pwede siya maging mas concise. I don't know how yet though.
I'll change this one, but I don't know yet what to change.
Maybe strive.
How would we use strive? Sorry.
Firstborn boys strive to achieve higher grades.
More. Ay, bobo. Anyway, it's there. Wait, you retype ko na lang. Okay. So our hypothesis. Arnold, sorry.
Yup.
Sira yung keyboard ko. Send ko na lang sa'yo.
Okay.
Tapos, makopy na lang dito.
Wait lang. Hindi ko siya.
Okay lang. Sorry po.
Okay lang. Let's see.
Sorry, I'm skipping. What does this mean? Children different age? Hindi ba gano'n naman talaga?
They also.
I think yung differences are supposed to be split by age. How do you do that?
So, the second one wants to say na
Like the IV is age and the DV is that thing you just covered.
okay, sorry.
Okay.
So, number 2 wants to say there is a difference in the ability to attend to instructional presentation among age groups in different ages. Of
Oh,
children.
that's a good one. RM, like the age groups one.
Chat ko rin sa'yo, Arnold. Sorry.
Sige. Kita niyo naman yung ano ko eh. Ina-annotate ko, no?
Oo, pero parang hindi dapat tayo siya nag-annotate. I-copy-paste na lang natin mga pagpapasa ko naman.
Wala. Dire ko yung sa akin.
Pwede din siya like children in different age groups differ in their ability to attend to instructional presentation. Pwede din siya ganun.
Sounds good.
Sorry pa ulit. Different age.
Children in different age groups differ in their ability to attend to instructional presentation.
Okay. Salamat. Thank you. I sent it to you, Arnold.
Okay.
Sorry po. Ginagawa kita ng slide.
That's cool.
Oh. Oh, wait. Naka-present tense ko tayo.
Read
Yes.
of speech in the absence of reference.
Oh, parang, I don't know, the third one doesn't seem problematic to me. Baka lang itong directly related dahil ang past tense-ish. Ay, hindi siya past tense. Adjective pala.
Well, hindi naman siya past tense since is related. Is
Adjective pala siya.
thing.
So, I don't see what's wrong.
Baka pwede tanggalin yung, I don't know what directly means. Pero naman siya is related, right?
I was just thinking directly, pag correlation, meaning this is a positive. This means na mataas yung okay, yeah. I got
Oh,
it.
directly as opposed to indirectly. I see. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
parang hindi ata siya dapat linalagay sa hypothesis.
Okay.
Kasi parang if you put directly, that means may data ka na. Alam mo na yung
In-assume mo na.
But
so
you could have RRL and that would allow you to put directly in there.
pwede rin. Parang to confirm. Pwede bang sabihin na walang mali? I feel like meron. So we are measuring the rate of developmental speech. Okay. Number
Speech
12.
development.
Yeah. So I think we just have to use
Rate
one.
of speech
So
development.
verbal fluency and developmental speech
Mm,
are medyo the same construct. So we just choose one of these to use. So parang mas sciencey pa kanya ng verbal fluency. So I want to say the rate of verbal fluency in young children is directly related to the verbal fluency of their parents.
good
Sure.
catch. Good catch, RM.
So binasa ko lang naman yung writing problems ni Ma'am Jean. So okay. So ayun, tapos na. 1, 2, 3 lang naman. No?
Ano yung final na sagot na natin? Like, pwede mo siya i-post or i-pakita.
Sa kabilang laptop siya. Arnold, pa-copy-paste naman, palagay dun sa chat. Sorry, ka-chat ko
Sorry.
sa Arnold.
Yeah, ilagay ko bro, wait lang.
Oo.
Ilagay ko sa...
Naka-on pala camera mo. Ano naman yung Arnold? Share mo na lang yung Viber natin to para makita na lang lahat. Joke lang. Wag.
Sinan ko, kita mo.
Oo, pero wala akong Viber dito sa laptop. So
Ay, okay.
may
Gusto mo
camera.
ako na mag ano? Show ko na lang dito.
Oo, pre.
Present ko na lang. Forward lang. Viber ko. Ayan. Yun naman yun, di ba? First.
Just to clarify, is instructional presentation in number 2 the variable or the measurement tool?
Parang ang variable is ability.
Ability, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Tapos, attend to instructional presentation is just what the ability is. But yeah, I agree na baka pwede palitan yung attend to instructional presentation. What does that mean?
I can't think of any other way to say it.
Yeah, actually, I feel like it's okay na eh.
Yeah.
actually, I'm thinking for number 3, magkaiba ba yung verbal fluency and rate of verbal fluency?
Baka pwede natin lagyan din na rate of verbal fluency din sa parents just para pareho yung ano. No, ano, talagay ng rate of verbal fluency din sa parents.
Ano bro? Sorry.
Rate of verbal fluency dun sa parents.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Wala akong mahanap sa Google na different term for attend to instructional presentation. I think it's like some legit thing. It's used in classrooms though.
That's okay.
Okay, so dead air na lang tayo till matapos yung class.
Na-realize ko lang, RM, nire-record mo din pala tong small group natin.
I'm not sure actually what gets recorded pag naka-breakout rooms. I'll check later. But yeah, upload ko naman yun to sa YouTube. I can delete our groups if you want. Sa computer ko lang naman ito nagsasave.
RM, anong pang ano mo? Anong gagawin mo software pang edit?
Wondershare Filmora kasi it's medyo
Okay.
basic and free. Okay, it's not free, but madali siyang aralin compared to Premiere Pro.
Yung iba, mga Premiere.
Actually, gusto ko yung Premiere pero ang mahal ng license. Itong Filmora
Mahal
is
na eh.
1,000
Grabe.
for 5 years. So,
Oo.
medyo sulit.
Grabe.
Tapos
Yung
ginamit ko sa
subscription
cord.
na mahal. Mm-hmm.
Ginamit ko yung credit card ni cord for this.
Loko.
Okay, so chill na tayo or balik tayo dun sa main room ng Ma'am Gina. Unless gusto niyo pang palitan yung answers natin. We still have like 10 minutes to do.
Oh, 10 minutes pa? Oh. Mm-hmm.
Go okay na tayo sa answer natin.
Mm.
Tingin ako ng other threaded. Baka meron.
Tanong mo sa other groups, baka pa-check mo kayo.
Baka.
I'm just gonna go to the main room now, since tapos na tayo. Bye. See you there.
Right. See ya.
Thank you.
All right, we're back. Sige, can I have someone from group 1? Can we have different people from each group talk about
Salamat, Arnold.
sige. Can we start with number 1, please?
Thank you, Arnold.
Guys? Sige.
Ako na to,
Somebody from
kasi
group 1?
pangit daw internet ni Arnold.
Sige,
So,
sige, go.
i-post ko lang po sa chat so that it's easy for me to read.
Sige.
So yung first question in the activity is the hypothesis is to prove that firstborn boys have a greater desire to achieve high grades in the primary grades and second boys have. We saw na parang napakahaba, napaka-clunky. So
Great.
we changed it to in the chat. We decided on firstborn boys strive to achieve higher grades as compared to secondborn boys.
Okay. So anong tinanggal nyo? Yung primary grades?
Yes po, we removed the primary grades and the first part, the hypothesis is to prove. And we
Yeah.
put in compared para mas makita na we're looking at the differences ng firstborn versus secondborn.
Okay. Or you can keep the primary grades if it's a reflection of the sample. So you can
Okay po.
say in primary grades, firstborn boys, what was your word?
Strive to achieve higher grades.
Okay. Strive to achieve higher grades compared to secondborn boys. Right. All right. Great.
So ma'am, i-confirm ko lang po. We want to put in primary grades just so that we can describe our sample in the hypothesis.
Oo, kasi well, ako feeling ko kasi parang putting boundaries on your population is important. Kasi baka if you don't put it for life, hindi ko alam. Baka sabihin
Sabagay po.
for life ganyan na ang firstborn versus second. And I don't know if that changes yung birth order. The impact of birth order changes, but it might be important. Okay?
Okay po.
Yeah. Thanks. Second
po, we changed the problem stated here to children in different age groups differ in their ability to attend to instructional presentations.
Great.
So,
okay.
yeah po.
That's good. What did you take out?
We reworded the children differ in age and they also
Yeah.
differ in their ability para mas
Two word,
clear.
Correct.
Opo.
Good. Great. 3.
3, we changed it to the rate of verbal fluency in young children is directly related to the rate of verbal fluency of their parents. So we decided to use only one construct instead of rate of development of speech and verbal fluency. We just changed it to rate of verbal fluency.
Okay, so that's a good catch. There's another thing that's if you take a look at the 2 tips, that's wrong with this. Which comes first? Di ba parang state the variables in order in which they occur, right? So which comes first?
Parents.
The parents, right?
Opo.
So therefore, how would you state this?
The rate of fluency of their parents is directly related to rate of fluency in young children.
Okay, tanggalin mo yung there.
Okay po.
So you can say that verbal fluency of parents is
Directly related
to,
to verbal fluency of children.
yeah. Or actually, I'm not sure if maybe the dev psych people can. Is verbal fluency and development of speech different constructs? Dev
I don't know.
Dev people, magkaiba ba yan?
I will Google it.
Bigla natahimik lahat ng dev. Magkaiba ba yan o pareho? Sorry, hindi ko rin alam.
Hindi ako dev, pero parang for me, magkaiba siya.
Okay. Mga dev.
Ma'am, verbal fluency and
Rate
Development of
of
speech. Parang magkaiba siya, no? Oo. So, kasi one is kung gaano siya, well, the fluency of parents is, I mean, how, obviously, parang,
I know parang similar kasi yun yung language po, that's broader. Pero pag speech,
pero
yun na
kasi
yung-
rate of development of speech, is that different from verbal fluency? rate of development of speech?
Parang oo, ma'am. It's quite different, I feel.
What's the difference?
Parang rate of develop of speech is how parang fast, I think,
Yeah.
acquire ng child yung parang verbal ability. While the other is fluency, parang the
Okay.
actual skill or adeptness.
Okay. So, assuming that they are different, right? So, RM, can you give it a stab again?
So, assuming they're different, we will write na the verbal fluency of the parents is directly
Tanggal mo yung
related.
there.
Sorry,
Tanggal mo yung
the
there.
verbal fluency of parents is directly related to the rate of development of speech in young children.
Great. Perfect. Okay. Great. All right, group 2. Let's do number 4. Thanks, RM.
Ma'am, sorry, I have a question.
Go.
Just making sure the reason we're putting parents first is because nauna sila na variable. I didn't quite get bakit natin inuna yung parents.
Kasi sino nauuna, yung parents o yung anak nila?
Ah, okay. All right. So in a chronological sense. Okay.
Yes, diba?
All right. Thank you.
Diba? So, parang you have parents before they give birth to children. So parang, diba, when you say the verbal fluency of parents occur first, right?
Right. So yeah, chronologically it makes sense. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. All right.
I have another question.
Oh.
I've seen this a lot sa mga research and articles, but to describe a variable that from the parents, ginagamit nila a lot is parental. Parental verbal.
That's fine. That's fine too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. All right. Can we go number 4? Group 2?
Oh, ma'am. So for number 4, among high achievers, there will be a higher level of sibling rivalry. The criticism here is that there's no comparison group for high achievers. So the way we rewrote it is there is a higher level of sibling rivalry among high achievers as compared to low achievers.
Okay. Can you make that even more concise? Anyone?
High achievers have high achievers.
Go.
High achievers have greater sibling rivalry compared to low achievers.
Wonderful. Great. All right. Next, number 5.
So for number 5, we actually got really confused with other things being equal. We interpreted it as there being a extraneous variable.
Okay, so what did you do?
We changed the example a bit. So we stated for the extraneous variable part, taking into account age differences, children presented with a greater number of rewards will have better academic performance than those given a lesser number of rewards.
Okay. All right. Or if it's not, feeling ko baka hindi ito. Well, that's one way to put it. If this were a correlational study, you don't need to put the comparison group. And you can just say, actually, I'm not too sure if other things being equal is that important. But if this were a correlational study, you could just say the greater rewards is correlated to performance. Diba? Or rewards or performance is associated with rewards. That simple. All right, great. Number 6.
Well, with number 6, we actually didn't finish.
Okay.
But we were discussing parang the criticism here would be yung direct relationship. So we changed it to a mechanical engineer's ability to visualize objects rotating in space influences their success on the job.
Okay. It's still a bit wordy. I Ano ba yung ability to visualize objects rotating in space? Is there a better, what does that reflect? Anyone? What's that construct?
Spatial ability.
Yeah.
Spatial.
Yeah. Okay. So you can shorten that by naming the construct. So a mechanical engineer spatial ability is directly related to their performance. Parang ganun. Right? Gets?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Thank you. All right. Number 7, group 3.
Hi, ma'am. For number 7, we wanted to define the groups better and also keep it in the present tense. So we changed it to millennials have less loyalty compared to boomers.
Okay. Why? What's the criticism on 7?
Today's modern generation versus ancestors.
Oo nga. Parang ano yun?
Medyo vague. Like, it's hard to
Correct.
understand. Tapos we wanted to define the two separate groups talaga. Kaya we specified two
Correct.
specific generations. And
Correct.
then
That's
keep it in the present tense also.
Correct. Great. Perfect. All right. 8.
For 8, it's a bit wordy. So we rephrased it and kept it in the present tense also. So the new question is, or the new hypothesis is, college applicants who take experience less test-taking anxiety
Compared to, parang yun yung kulang.
compared to those who did not take a test preparation course.
Yeah. Okay. So parang, yeah. So you have to put the comparison group pa rin. I know it seems redundant, pero ganun talaga eh. Oo.
Okay.
Sige.
Thanks.
9.
And then for 9, present tense as well, there is a relationship between age and height.
Right. And you took out significant.
Yes.
All right. Perfect. But can you predict, you think at this point, you can predict the nature of relationship?
As a hypothesis, ma'am, baka
Yeah.
if
right?
there is literature to back it up.
Yeah. Yeah. So that you might say there is a positive relationship between age and height. Right.
Right. Okay.
All right. Wonderful. Thanks. Group 4, 10.
So for 10, ma'am, we saw, so students who take Psych 101 will report greater self-insight than students who did not take introductory psychology. So the problems we saw here were, it's not in the present tense, and yung variable na psychology, there are 2 terms. So we just changed it into students who take introductory psychology report greater self-insight than students who did not take introductory psychology. We just chose introductory psychology kasi one comment was baka not everyone is familiar with Psych 101 as like the introductory psychology.
Okay. You can even make that a little bit more concise by saying students who take introductory psychology will report greater self-insight than students who don't.
Oh, okay.
Para hindi mo na kailangan ulitin yun. Okay. Thank you. 11.
For 11, so we got confused by ano bang subcultures to and what does school environment mean. So just really changed the whole, we created our own research problem. So
go ahead.
Is there a difference between the perception of freshmen and senior students on online class environment?
Good. Great. Okay.
And the last one, it's not in the present tense, and then the word sample was included. So, we changed it into, is there a difference in the level of life satisfaction between Filipino men and women?
Great. Good. All right. And so I'm happy that you are getting the point of writing good research questions and hypothesis. Are there any other questions about this before we move on?
I'm not sure, ma'am. Pero can we like compile everything into one? Like, para at least we can look at, this is itong list from you, the wrong ones, and then the updated one. Para lang.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Is there, para lang can we collate? Kasi we wrote ours in the group chat and yung kila RM.
Okay. So what do you want to do? You write down your answers?
Yay, thank you, RM. RM will compile daw. Thank you.
Salamat, RM. All right. So was this helpful? So I hope this was helpful, and I hope to receive better research questions from everyone after this little exercise. Yan. Parang when I was going through your exercises, I realized, baka kailangan mag-review ng konti tungkol sa articulating research questions. We normally don't do that in Quanti, but I felt, okay, so maybe it's a good thing to review. All right, no more questions? So let's go. Let's go to talk about statistics of group differences. And mainly, we will focus on the boxes below. Okay, so t-tests and analysis of variance and analysis of covariance. Chi-square, although we will not focus on, is also still an important test of group difference. But the main difference from the others is that its DV is categorical. So for example, your question is, are there gender differences in membership in faith-based organizations, for example? And the answer and the DV is yes or no, right? And your IV is also categorical. That's where you will use what we call non-parametric statistics like chi-square. Okay? Now, all the other tests assume DVs that are continuous in nature. So they're interval or ratio, or, we keep repeating this. In this case of behavioral sciences, they can be Likert scales that are truly ordinal, but we treat them as continuous anyway. Okay? So, when do we use t-tests? Generally, when you only have two groups. Okay, so you have to remember that. T-test, two groups. ANOVA, more than two groups. Okay, that's one basic differentiation. And then you have two types of t-tests. Independent samples, meaning there are different people in the different groups, right? So male and freshmen, sophomores, young, old, okay? Member, not member, dead, alive, okay? And your DV is continuous. T-test dependent sample, same group, 2 time points, pre, post test, okay? When you're doing cohort studies, it can be age 5 and age 10, okay? But it's the same group. ANOVA, 2 or more groups, okay? So generally, when we have, once nag-3 groups tayo, analysis of variance na siya. And the DV is continuous, right? So for example, the question is, are there generational differences in life satisfaction? And you have 3 groups, your baby boomers, your Gen X, and your Gen Y. And your life satisfaction, which is your DV, is continuous. Now, one way, that's one way, one IV, okay? One IV. Two way, 2 or more IVs, okay? Well, actually, two IVs that are categorical. So for example, are there differences in life satisfaction by generation and socioeconomic status? IV1 is generation, You have 3 groups. IV2 is social economic status, which is also 3 groups, high, medium, low. Okay? Now, when would you use, sorry, ANOVA? Wala pala akong covariate dito. Sorry. Sorry. All right. So when would you use an ANCOVA? Okay. Generally, if you have a categorical IV, continuous DV, and you have a covariate, which is not your main question, but you know that it might be related to the outcome variable. So for example, you find that you're really interested in the impact of generational differences in socioeconomic status on life satisfaction. But you know that people's life satisfaction is related to education. So you treat education as though covariate. Meaning, ito yung all things being equal with regards to education. Would generational differences and SES affect or influence life satisfaction when you control for the number of years education? Okay. ANCOVA is not, to be honest, it's not common. It's not as common, but it's important. For example, you want to compare, ano ba? Kunyari, you want to compare urban versus rural Filipinos in terms of life satisfaction, right? Pero, meron bang difference between urban and rural Filipinos? What variable might urban and rural Filipinos differ on that might be related to life satisfaction? What might an important covariate be?
Income.
Income. Perfect. Okay? So, parang you're saying that, kasi why put in that covariate? Because if you don't put in that covariate and you say urban Filipinos are more satisfied in life, parang you're saying that it's the geography, parang it's the geography that makes a difference, right? Their location, right? But you didn't account for the fact that urban Filipinos may have more income than rural Filipinos. Now, if you put income as a covariate, you're taking out that income factor. And therefore, you can conclude more robustly that it's location. It's not income. That's spelling the difference. Does that make sense in your head? You understand when a covariate it might be important. Sige, questions. I'm going to stop a little bit.
Ma'am, in the module for ANCOVA, I'm not sure yung kailangan you can include it as a covariate if there's no significant relationship ba between the covariate and something else. I'm not too sure.
And the DV.
DV, okay.
In general, you want a relationship between the covariate and the DV. That's why you're controlling for it. That's why you're controlling for it.
Do we have to test it separately or hindi na?
Well, usually when we do run a correlation first. Kasi if it's not correlated to begin with, parang bakit ka pa mag-ANCOVA pala? So yeah, we do run a correlation first.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Questions? Sorry. Okay. Game?
Ma'am, question lang about
Go.
the movie.
mamaya na yung Jamovi stuff. Let's do conceptual first, okay? I'll go to Jamovi later on. I just want you guys to make sure first you understand when to use these things.
Ma'am, I have a question about two-way ANOVA.
Go.
So, dun po sa two-way ANOVA, ma'am, di ba dalawa yung IV natin? So, technically, we'd also be looking for like the interaction effect between those two IVs?
Correct.
Right. So if we don't want an interaction effect, ma'am, we can just do one-way ANOVA 2 times.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Questions. So I really want to know, I would really want to check if you understand when you would use these. Okay. So I'm going to do a quick exercise again. Sorry. Can you screenshot this? Got it? Okay. So, this time, I'm gonna give you, kaya niyo ba to in 5 minutes? Hindi. Hindi. More time. 10 minutes. Sige, wait 10 minutes. Okay, 10 minutes. Identify what tests to use for these 5 things. Okay?
Hello. Good evening. Okay, so would we like to go through this? Say natin. Identify the IV and proteins. Can we go through? Sorry. Let's go through and look for the IV first. I will annotate it in blue. Tapos balikan na lang natin yung test later. Okay, so I am adult socioeconomic class. So we're trying to identify here participation in extracurricular activities.
Participation is yung DV.
Okay.
IV is SES.
SES.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the test later. The IV for 2 is, what does this mean? Parang
Gender?
Baka women yung...
Yeah.
Gender. Women.
Oh, men are... Huh?
Only women.
Yeah, isa ata dyan women dapat.
Baka women yung second.
Let's write it down. So, but BB2, 1, IV is 2, is gender. 3, 3, I wanna say Dalawang IV.
Dalawa.
Gender and civil
Gender
status.
civil status.
Then risk is the DV.
Yeah.
Risk of mental illness.
Sorry, sinusunod ko.
Country. Philippines and Japan.
Yeah, Philippines
Cove.
country is the
Country.
Yes.
IV.
Sorry lang, mabagal lang natin. Nasa 3 pala ako. DV ng 3 natin is risk of mental illness.
Mental illness.
Yeah.
For IV is country.
Country.
Age is controlled for sourcing and
Age is covariate.
Variant.
Age.
Then mathematical ability is yung
DV.
dependent.
Yeah.
45. The IV is frequency of substance. Sorry. What is our IV?
The intervention, drug rehabilitation intervention.
Frequency of substance use is yung DV natin.
DV.
IV is participants. And then I guess this is going to be yung
Dependent sample status.
Yeah.
I will copy paste para makita. You guys all have a copy of the ano naman.
This is uncle.
Test.
Okay.
Okay. So ano yung test mo?
One way ANOVA?
Number 1? Hindi ba independent samples?
Two levels lang yung IV.
Okay, so for 2, t-test na ito, no? This is only
T-test.
Gender and civil status.
ANOVA.
Tapos 2-way ANOVA naman para sure na kaya.
You have 2 IVs.
Tama ba ako?
Yeah, 2-way ANOVA.
Number 4 is ANCOVA. We have
ANCOVA.
Covariate.
So covariate.
Age.
Then number 5 is a dependent samples t-test.
Okay.
Let's go to check.
What's the difference between regular t-test and independent samples t-test?
The dependent tsaka independent.
I'm opening a cheat sheet. Pag dependent samples na t-test, it says na. Sorry.
Between number 1 and number 2, we have independent samples, and then yung isa is just t-test, unless that's also independent.
Sorry, yeah. Independent.
Okay.
we all good with our answers? Okay. If we are, who will report this to ma'am? Salamat, hindi na po ako.
I think everyone's just gonna be asked to report.
Well, yeah.
Everyone's
Yeah,
getting the same things.
Sa other group, sabi nila ang number 5 ay paired samples t-test instead of dependent samples.
Paired samples, I think, is the same as.
It's the same
Same
as.
lang yan.
Okay. Okay.
Ibang
Thank
term
you.
lang.
Okay. Sorry for confusion. I will send this to chat para in case pa-report tayo isa-isa. Hindi na ako yung magsasalita. Salamat. So, ayun. Kamusta?
Basta kayo.
Tapos na rin. 3, 2,
May,
1.
tapos na ba?
Ata. Or wala pa?
Wala pa.
Yung timer.
Timer lang yan, but hindi tayo automatically.
Ayan na talaga.
Ayun.
Totoo na.
So, 30 seconds. Kamusta kayo? Joke lang. Bye.
Okay. So can I ask someone from each group to type down your responses in the chat box? So just put group 1 and then type down the responses for 1 to 5, for questions 1 to 5.
Sorry, ma'am. I forgot what group I am. Group 2.
Okay, so, oo nga, sorry. Hindi ko rin alam.
Nakita ka ng group 2 pa.
Group. Alright. So, ano to? Group 2. Ayan, okay. Meron ka na. Can we see the others too? Kahit yung test lang, okay lang. You don't, yeah, that's correct. The way they wrote it. Walang kopyahan ha. Game. Tingnan natin. Wala naman bearing to sa grade niya. So, learning check lang tayo. Learning check. Is anyone writing it for group 1? Group 3? Okay, one more group. Missing one more group. One more group. All right. So, I'm very happy kasi tama kayong lahat. Okay. So, you're correct. No? So, the first one-way ANOVA because the DV is SES, right? And then the IB is the participation in extracurricular activities. Okay, correct? Number 2, DV is gender. So, IB is help seeking. So, independent sample t-test. And then, two-way ANOVA because you have gender and civil status. And the DV is mental health, risk of mental health. And then 4 is ANCOVA kasi you control for age. Okay. And then 5th is t-test, dependent sample because it's the same set of participants. Yay! Happy. Okay. Questions before we proceed na to Jamovi. Okay.
Ma'am,
Sige,
sorry.
go. Go.
Automatically, we really have to put yung when something is controlled for.
Yan yung tip. So, ang tip ko, minsan ganito yung comps questions. Bibigyan namin kayo ng mga research problems. Tapos sasabihin ninyo, ano yung tamang statistic na gagamitin. So, sa finals, minsan ginagawa ko din to. So, yes. Pag meron ng controlled for, yan yung isang tip na, okay, ang COVA yan. Alright? Any more? Sige, let's go to Jamovi. Can I ask you all to open up your Jamovi so you can follow with me? And can you also open up the Philippine or values dataset? Okay. So can you just give me a thumbs up when you are ready? So I know when to begin. Okay. Sige. So I'm going to share my slide. In this particular demo, I'm going to focus on our DV is the belief that men make better executives than women. All right. So that's our dependent variable. And for this exercise, I'm going to look at 2 things: gender and educational attainment. But when I looked at educational attainment, and if you take a look at your educational attainment, which is V248, you'll find na ang daming categories, di ba? So, if you take a look at the data set itself, parang there are 8 groupings, right? Which is a bit much. So what I'm going to do first is we're going to walk you through how do we recode data. So in this case, there are 8 groups, but we want to break them up into just 3 groups, okay? So this is what we will do. So we will first transform the variable 248, which is education, to education level or edu level. And we will combine all those, kasi para meron silang, graduated and not, right? So we will simplify our educational level into 3 groups. 1 to 3 is grade school and below, meaning whether they graduated or not. Basta grade school and below, yung highest education level nila. 4, 5, 6, 7 will be high school and below. And 8 and 9 would be college and below. Okay, so how do we do that? So can you follow with me as we go along? So we will use the transform command. Okay. And here, we'll just type in the new variable name. Okay. And then we will put in our source variable. So in this case, our source variable is variable 248. Okay. Ang hirap nito, no? Parang, if this were in real life, I could go down the classroom and peek at your screens. I can't peek yours. I don't know what you're seeing in your end. So, can you, and I can't see the chat. I don't know why I can't see the chat here. But, so can you just tell me by voice, okay, if you need me to slow down or do something, huh? All right, okay, now let's click the use transform button, specifically the create new transformation. Okay, we'll click add recode condition. Okay. So here, what we will do is if the command here is if v248 is between 1 to 3, use 1. Okay, click add recode again. If sorry, erase, sorry. Dapat pala is if v248 is below 4, below 8, below 10. There you go.
Ma'am,
yep.
Wouldn't below 10 also include everything? Tama. Okay, sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure who asked, but yung tanong ko, but wouldn't below 10 include the below 8 and below?
Tinanong ko rin yan. Pero ganun din. Pero nung pinag-aralan ko yung recoding ng Jamovi, ganun talaga eh.
Okay.
Pag SPSS, or hindi ko lang nakukuha pa. Sa SPSS kasi mas exact eh. Iba yung recoding ng SPSS para you can say if it's 1 to 3. In this case, medyo kakaiba yung Jamovi recoding.
I think the Jamovi follows the first rule first, then follows the next rules. Not like SPSS na sabay niya pinapars.
Ginagawa. Alright. Okay? Okay. So if you hit return, you might see that you now have a new variable named education level. Do you? Paki-thumbs up lang if you do. Okay na? Okay. Do you need me to repeat this or are we good? Okay na ba? Hirap naman talaga nito. Oo. Sige, game. All right. So, our first so we have ano na. Okay? So we have recorded na. Okay? So our next is let's do first a t-test. We want to look at gender differences in the belief that men make better executives than women. Our next example is a one-way ANOVA. Differences in belief that men make better executives than women by education level. Okay? Our next is two-way ANOVA, which is gender and education level. And then ANCOVA would be education level, but controlling for age. Okay? So those are the 4 things that we will walk through using Jamovi. Okay, so let's do the first one, which is gender differences in the belief that men make better executives than women. So go. So t-test, independent sample t-test. Our dependent variable is V53. And our grouping variable is V240 or gender. Okay. So we might want this. You can click on descriptive statistics. Okay. Want to see effect size, we can do that too. Okay. 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 So, can somebody interpret the results? Did you get the same results? Michelle, did you get the same results?
Yes po, ma'am.
Sige. Can you interpret? What do you see in the findings?
On the findings, males and females have different beliefs.
Okay, so they do differ. Where do you see that?
The p-value po,
Okay.
based on the Beans test. Ay, hindi po. May p-value po. Tapos yung effect size si Cohen's-d, it suggests a medium effect size.
Okay. Okay, so it's significant. The difference is significant at p below 0.01, and the effect size is a medium effect size. So gender has a medium effect on this particular belief. Okay. Now, obviously, when you report something like this, you can't just stop at saying, okay, there's a significant difference between males and females, right? Syempre, if you say that, the reader will ask you, so, ano? Di ba? Ano yung difference, right? So, when you report a t-test, you not only report that there's a significant difference, you also will want to go a step further. Okay? Mikey, can I ask you, using the group descriptives data, what else can you say about this particular, about gender and this belief?
For example, ma'am, looking at the mean, you can see na yung average is higher yung female compare sa male, though minimal lang siya. So
Okay.
it means that female may have, sorry, I'll check the question.
So that's good, no? So Mikey is checking how was the question stated, right? Oh, so the question was stated, a lower score is what?
So lower score means that they don't think that men make better political leaders than women do. So
Okay.
in
So, Ay, no. Baliktad, Mikes. Sorry. Pag lower score,
I strongly agree pala yung
they
sa one.
agree.
Yes po.
Right? So
si female po, so high score means they disagree with the question po.
Okay, so state that again in 1 or 2 sentences lang.
So female, wait po.
Or other people, sige, can you try and chat your response? You can also try and chat your response if you want. How would you describe the difference in 1 or 2 sentences? Mikey, you want to try again?
Yes, ma'am. So, for example, for male, so male agrees that men make better political leaders than women do.
Yeah.
Tama po ba?
Yeah, so you might say that, yeah. So men have a higher belief that they make better business executives than females. Or sabi ni Tal, men tend to agree more on the belief that, okay, males make better executives than women, okay? Or the other way around. Female respondents disagree more than men. Good. Okay? So again, remember, when you report a t-test, don't stop at saying it's significant. You want to also describe the pattern that you see. Questions? None? All right. So that's a t-test. Let's go now to analysis of variance. We will do one-way ANOVA. Okay. Same.
Question lang.
Go.
How do you determine whether what's the cutoff for each effect size, whether it's a large, medium, or small effect?
Okay, so si Cohen, meron siyang binigay na suggestion on effect size. Okay. So, dali ha. I have to open up, sorry. I have to open up the slides. Sorry, it's in one of, I'll have to look for it. It's,
yeah.
Yeah, it's in the handout, right?
Yeah. 0.2, 5, and 8, I think.
So it's in the handout, Carlos. You can open that up. There you go. Thank you.
Ma'am, I also have another question.
Go ahead.
We proceed still with this, even if it violates the assumption of equal
Levine.
Yeah.
You can, pero you can also sorry. In t-test, I'm trying to see if there is a Wala siyang... Okay. So when it violates the assumption, sorry, let's do this again. So the grouping variable is 240 and it's 53. Okay. So as you can see, Levine's test is significant, right? So, suggesting a violation of assumption. What is also possible is you can check another test, okay, which is Welch. Welch parang allows us to do, parang it's just a correction, a test that you can use when the assumptions are violated. And as you can see, it's still significant. Okay. Another possible test is Mann-Whitney. This is a non-parametric test that does not require normality.
I'm using the handout right now, and it says 0.20 is small, 0.50 is medium, and 0.80 is large. My question is whether 0.20 and below, or between 0.20 and 0.50 yung small, and then
That's a good question. Let me just double check my handouts. Okay, my slides. Wait, sorry. I will. Sorry, hirap ang dami kong slides. Parang pagkaalala ko, tama ka nga, parang pagkaalala ko, it's 0.20 to 0.49. But let me double check.
Ma'am, if it helps, yun din po yung nakita ko sa internet. Yung 0.20 to 0.50 is small, 0.50 to 0.80 is medium, and 0.80 above is large.
Correct. So in this case, it's a small effect size, no? 0.3, I'm sorry, what was the effect size?
0.37.
Yeah, so it's still small. Sorry, yeah. That's what I remember too. Okay, got it?
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you too for your questions. Keep them coming, okay? All right, you want to go to the next now, which is the education level, okay? All right, so let's go back to ANOVA. So we will go back to our dependent variable, which is the belief that men make better executives than women. That's our DV, right? This time, our grouping variable is the new variable that we created, which is education level, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna stop here first. Did you get the same?
Ma'am, this is where my question earlier about Jamovi is. What's the difference between one-way ANOVA and the regular ANOVA in Jamovi?
Okay, the regular ANOVA allows you two-way. But actually, you can, to be honest, you can use the other ANOVA also. But it allows you more than one DV. More than one IV.
And there was some discrepancy when I
ran it.
Yeah, kasi initially I followed the handout. It just said ANOVA. Tapos
okay. Sige nga, let's see.
I tried to check yung answers nung iba. So I found their answers in the one-way ANOVA naman.
Let's see. Let's compare. F test. Pareho lang na. Oo nga, no? Yung F value magkaiba.
Yeah, yes. Slightly different siya yung last time.
Oo nga, no? I wonder if it's because the test that they're using is different. Sige. Okay, so sige, let's use this na lang first, the ANOVA lang, para uniform tayo. Okay, so did you get the same? Are you also getting the same output as you see on the screen? Ito muna tayo.
Ma'am, residuals is also yung the within, tama ba?
Sorry?
Kasi ma'am, yung residuals, di ba it's eduk level and then residual. So like if we're gonna do the
Residuals are that which is not accounted for. So parang it's your error. So what you take a look at lang is your F value here. Okay. So what do you see? What is the conclusion? Mara, what do you see here?
Sorry, ma'am. I wasn't able to go through the modules yet. I have only finished until T-test.
Okay, who has gone through this? Anyone would like to volunteer?
Ma'am, there's a significant difference with an F ratio of 8.46.
Okay, so that's one, right? What we don't know yet, because there are three groups, is we don't know how they are different, right? Oh, okay, so this is what I don't like about the ANOVA function. And like in one-way ANOVA, where you can ask for the means, not seeing where you can ask for the means in one-way in ANOVA. Anyway, sige. Let's take a look at this one first. So, based on the means, what are you seeing as the pattern? So remember, 1 is grade school, 2 is high school, 3 is college and below. Based on the means, remember, the lower the mean, the more they agree that men make better executives than women. What kind of conclusions are you seeing? Or we can't conclude yet kasi hindi pa tayo nagpo-post hoc, right? But from the means, what does it seem like? Anyone?
The higher the educational attainment, the more they disagree with the assumption that men
good.
Better executives.
Right, correct, right? Kasi kita nyo, pataas yung mean. At pag grade school level, they agree more. Pag college level, mas mataas yung disagreement niya, right? All right, now, are these groups really different from each other? Is a 2.34 different from a 2.45? Is it different from a 2.62? Kasi they're all in that 2 point something range, right? And that is where a post hoc test is important. Post hoc tests tell us which groups might be significantly different from each other. So we only do a post hoc test when the F value is significant to begin with. When it's not significant, there's no sense in doing a post hoc test. Okay? So you don't have to do it anymore. But when it is significant, then we want to use a post hoc test. Okay? All right. So what does the post hoc test tell us? Okay? What this post hoc test compares group 1 with group 2, group 1 with group 3. Okay? So for example, here you will see that the mean difference, so there's a difference between, you want to take a look at the p-value here, okay? So the difference between group 1 and group 2, grade school and high school, is it significant?
No.
No, right? The difference between group 1 and group 3, is it significant, Trisha? Trish, sorry.
Yes, po.
So, what can we conclude?
We can conclude that the lower educational attainment is very significantly different from the highest educational attainment.
Okay. So, be more specific, Trisha. We're looking at grade school, high school, college. So, what can you conclude?
Then grade school group is significantly different from the college group.
Okay. More specifically pa, what is the nature of the significant? What is the nature of the difference? Okay, go Trish.
Hindi, sige. Others want to answer.
Sige, go. Try. Marielle, can you try? What is the nature? So we're saying that 1 and 3 are significantly different, right? So I'm trying to train you on how to write this up in layman's language. So how would you say that? So it's 1 and 3. Go.
Wait, sorry. That this is where it comes in na yung you say that the grade school group tend to agree more than the college group.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That men make better leaders than women, right? Good. Now here, look at this. 2 and 3. Okay. Patrick, what are you seeing here?
No significant difference between high school and college.
Really? Somebody else. What do you see? Mara. Sorry. Did I call you na kanina? Mara?
Called me na po kanina. But I'm not yet sure.
Michelle?
If you use 95% confidence level po, it's still significant?
Correct. It's still significant at 0.05, right? Kasi it's 0.02. So it's still significant at 0.05 and below, right? Okay, so Michelle, interpret based on the means.
Based on the means, those who finished elementary? Or those in the elementary group?
No. It's, Michelle, it's 2 and 3.
Oh, okay po.
High school and college.
Those in the high school group have significantly lower agreement. Oh, sorry. Sorry, na-confused po ako. Those in the high school group have more agreement compared to those in the college group.
Okay. I think you can state that. Can somebody try stating that a little bit more clearer so that a lay person can understand? What does that mean? Include the construct that we are trying to describe. Go ahead.
Ma'am, those in the high school group are more likely to agree that men make better business executives than women compared to those in the college group.
Okay, so that's good. Or you can do it inversely. You can say those with college education disagree more than those with high school education, that women make better leaders. Okay? Questions?
Ma'am, how
Yes?
do we, si Cristel po, how do we explain or describe po yung parang yung mas mataas yung significance ng 1 and 3, I mean, primary grades and college level, dun po sa 95 confidence ng 2 and 3. Kasama po siya sa ano, di ba? Sa explanation or sa analysis.
Okay. Kasi take a look at the post hoc test, right? What are we seeing? The difference is between 1 and 3 and 2 and 3, right? It's not between 1 and 2.
Yes.
Okay. So if you were to say this, to explain this in layman's terms, 1 and 2, 1 grade school, 2 high school, 3 college. So what can you say? If you put it all together.
Ma'am, between grade school and high school, there's no significant difference in the way they see men and women as executives.
Correct. But
between high school and college, those who have a college degree or college education tend to disagree more in the belief that men make better executives than those who graduated high school, than those who just have a high school education
and grade school.
And grade school education.
Okay, so let's do that again. Go. Kaya mo yan. Lapit na.
Wait lang.
Maganda na yung una mo.
Wait lang. Between grade school, between the respondents who have a grade school and high school education, there is no significant difference in the way they see men as executives than women. Tama ba, ma'am? Nawala na. However, those who receive college education tend to disagree more in the belief that men make better executives than women compared to those who only have a high school and grade school education.
Okay, good. Tanggalin mo lang yung only.
Okay, thank you.
Kasi parang medyo parang
no judgment.
Yeah, hindi masyado maganda pakinggan, right? So you can just say, so there are no significant differences between those with grade school and high school education on their belief that men make better leaders than women, make better executives than women. However, those with college education disagree more compared to those with grade school and high school education that men make better executives than women. So you can actually write this up of ANOVA in 3 sentences. Okay, 1, that there is a significant difference. That there is a significant difference in the belief by education level, and then the next sentence is that there's no significant difference between grade school and high school, and then we can say that it's the college, those who are college educated, that differ significantly. Questions?
One question.
Go.
in sa tutorial kasi for the ANOVA and F statistic, meron siyang equivalent na effect size like for eta squared. Is that also important to report?
Okay. So you can report that para siyang eta square is actually like your variance. I'm gonna share this data. So your eta squared is like your variance accounted for by the IV. So you can also report the eta squared, and this is how we would report it. So for example, your eta squared is a product of the sum of squares for the effect versus the and the denominator is the total sum of squares. So here, the example here is the dependent variable is sleep, and the IVs are anxiety levels, the normal, mild, moderate, and severe. The eta square here is 0.0012, okay? So similar to in regression, what if you multiply this by 100, that's 12%, okay? So 12% of sleep is accounted for by anxiety. So that's how we would explain it. So you can use that. Partial eta squared is particularly important when you use multiple IVs. Okay? So what it does is it partials out the effect, excluding the effect that is shared across IVs. So it tends to be smaller the more IVs there are. Okay. And when your IVs are also related to each other.
Ma'am, sorry, in this example, we multiply 0.0012.
Wait lang.
Tama ba? Won't it be 0.12?
0.12, oo nga. Sorry. Yeah, my bad. Sorry. Wait. My bad. It's 0.12, sorry. Mali yung ano ko. 0.12. Let me correct that. There. All right. Thank you for catching that.
Yes, ma'am, in the handout, there's a slight difference dun sa interpretation ng eta squared.
Because yung size?
Yung medium, ma'am, and large, parang iba yung nasa handout. 0.09 medium. Tapos large, 0.25.
Wait. Let me double check. Sorry. Baka iba yung source. Let me double check the handout. Sorry, RM, can you flash the handout?
It's the one before t-test. Nasa ano pa yun? NHS.
Oo nga eh. Sorry. I will handouts.
I'll try to open it.
Sorry, can I see the handout? Yes. Okay.
It's not waiting.
Are you talking about the t-test or the ANOVA handout?
Nasa ano pala siya, ma'am? Nasa Canvas. Yung there. Yung effect size, ma'am, it's posted in Canvas. Wala pala siya sa handout. Yung effect size under null hypothesis testing and effect size.
This one. Hi, shocks, wait lang. Oo nga. Sorry. Just follow this na lang. Let me double check my sources. Kasi No, I understand. I think I understand na. Kasi this is squared. Tama ba? Parang kasi squared tong isa. Teka, eta and eta squared.
Eta and eta squared. Okay.
Oo. Sige, let me... Oo, squared yung isa. Tama ba? Oo. Sige, just follow what's here na lang.
Ma'am,
Sorry.
which one do
Sorry
we
for
follow?
confusing. This one. The one in Canvas na lang. Sorry.
The one in Canvas. Okay.
Oo. I will just take out this one na lang from my slide para hindi kayo malito. Okay. Other questions?
I'm on F ratio.
Okay.
How do we interpret that in written form?
You just say if it's significant or not. You report it. The F ratio was significant, and then you put the actual value in parenthesis forms. So you don't need to explain what an F ratio is. You just report whether it's significant or not. Okay? Questions? Let's go to 2A. All right. So, okay. So remember 2A, 2 IVs, right? So earlier we did gender and then we did education level. So here, using the same box or screen, we'll just add, sorry. When you go to ANOVA, okay, so we'll use the same dependent variable. Okay, we will use gender again. So V240. Plus, we will also use education level. Okay, now, so what does it tell us? Okay, so what it tells us, what do you see in the output? Kit, what do you see? So we take a look at the F and its significance. So V240 is gender.
Gender and education level is significant for on their views that men make better leaders, business leaders than women. And
what about the interaction?
Sorry, ma'am. Ano po? Interaction.
Ito. Because what, di ba? What 2A ANOVA does, it allows us to see not just the contribution of each variable, it also allows us to look at the interaction between gender and education level. And this is the interaction. V240 times education level. So is it significant?
It's not significant po.
Therefore, the conclusion is what?
Therefore, the conclusion is, wait, age, like, sorry ma'am, I'm not sure how to phrase it yet. Parang, age does not have, can I say that ma'am, na it doesn't have like a significant effect?
No, it does. It does, di ba?
Oh,
the
age, interaction? Oh, okay.
This is not age, this is gender.
Gender. Gender. Okay, Sorry, ma'am, di po ako sure. Pero wait,
Sige.
I'll try to phrase it muna in my
Go.
head.
Sige. Anyone would anyone like to try? Or Kit, do you wanna take a stab again? Go.
Wait lang, ma'am. I'm checking yung ano po. Wait.
Marielle, can you take a stab?
Do I just say that there's no significant interaction effect between education and gender?
Yes. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, you just say that there are significant differences by gender, and then you explain that males tend to agree more than females. There's also a significant effect by education level. Those with college education tend to disagree more compared to those with high school and grade school. There is no significant interaction between gender and education in terms of the belief that men make better leaders than women. Okay?
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, thanks.
Ma'am, question. I'm not sure it's just my version, but
go.
You have that row, yung overall model.
You don't have that row?
Yeah, yung sa table, ma'am. And what does that mean?
Where are you? Sorry.
In the table that you were showing, ma'am. Yung ANOVA, tapos EDUC level, V240.
You don't have it?
Just the row na overall model. I'm not sure if I should click on something for it to show.
This one.
Ay, ma'am, wala pong share screen.
Sorry. Okay, yikes. Okay. It's this. If you click this.
Oh, no, wala. Oh, there. Okay.
There. Okay. Yan.
Oh, okay.
But pwede rin naman wala.
Model fit, effect size. Wala. Model fit.
Wala. It's okay. Hindi siya, yan. Pwede na rin yan. That's acceptable.
Yes, ma'am, how do we report like the F ratio? As in, like, di ba we have to indicate its value? So like F and the DF.
Yes. So, in the sample exercise, tama ba? Meron example on how to report it, di ba? On paragraph form.
Yeah, but I think I'm not sure with
you're not there yet.
I got confused with the one inside the parenthesis.
Okay, wait.
And then DF. So I'm not sure which one. Tapos 2 yung values niya inside the parenthesis.
Okay, wait. Let me go to that portion. Okay, so this is the example, di ba? Sorry. This is the Okay, Vika, what are you asking?
Yung ma'am, di ba if it's F and then parenthesis 2, 5709. Like, where do we get di ba that's DF, the ones inside the parenthesis? I think in the example dun sa module, I got the different answer from the rest because I'm not sure if, and then when I saw parang how the other people did it, I think it's magkaiba siya sa one-way ANOVA and then the actual ANOVA in Jamovi.
Yung number na yon.
The DF. Yung pangalawa. So I'm not sure what the two
difference is.
So like for this example, for education level, so if we write it down, it's F and then parenthesis 2, comma, is it the residuals?
No, it's it's a population. It's a sample size.
So we get that from...
So the F test is the first number. Wait, So you're asking Mika where to get it from the table?
Yeah, yung DF, ma'am. Kasi parang I got confused. I'm not sure. Magkakaiba yung answers namin dun sa exercise.
Okay. Sige. So in the table, so the first number in the table is the number of, sorry. Let me see trying to see how to show this to you. Okay, so I know now where your question is, why residuals? Yeah, so here your DF, what are you seeing? Are you still seeing the movie?
No, ma'am, it's the handout.
Okay, all right, okay. Okay, yeah, so here, so your, in parentheses, it would be, so your F value, and then your first value is this, kunyari ito,
yes.
Right? And then this one.
Okay.
Correct, yeah.
Okay, sige ma'am. So, ANOVA nga, not the, I think I just got confused with the ANOVA and one-way ANOVA.
Okay, sige. So, para lang, and sorry, yeah, I didn't realize that the movie had, magkaiba yung ANOVA tsaka one-way ANOVA results niya. So, just for our purposes, can we just use, everybody, just use the second ANOVA na lang? Until I end. Kahit ako, I have to figure out bakit medyo magkaiba siya.
Ma'am, question po.
Go ahead.
If we use ANOVA, does that mean we don't need to report the means anymore?
No, you still do. You still do. Kasi parang it's not enough to say that it's different. You have to explain how it's different. So you might need to, if you're just using ANOVA, you might need to run.
Ma'am, sabi ni RM, in this Jamovie link, he said na ANOVA function assumes normality. So different ang computation daw for one-way ANOVA.
So you can use it if your data is normal. But the one-way ANOVA, tama ba RM? One-way ANOVA, you can use when it's not normal data.
Yun
Correct?
po yung naintindihan ko from the Jamovie website, but baka mali yung interpretation ko. But they say na use one-way pag hindi ka sure kung normal.
One-way pag hindi ka sure.
Opo. Tapos
na normal.
Sorry ma'am, sorry. Use ANOVA, the ANOVA function, if you just assume that all your data is normal, and use one-way ANOVA if you do not know your normality yet. Or basahin ko ulit ma'am, tas aralin ko.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So the one-way ANOVA assumes normality. Correct? And the ANOVA, so use ANOVA.
ANOVA po is the one that assumes normality. And the one-way ANOVA, not normal. Okay, ulit, sorry ba. The ANOVA function assumes normality. So when it computes, it puts everything in a normal curve. Kasi one-way ANOVA does not look at normality before it computes.
Okay. So, it recommends that if you're not sure if it's normal or not, use ANOVA. Tama ba yung sinabi mo?
Yes po.
Okay. Shucks. Okay. So see, I didn't even know that. Sorry. I'm also new to. I'm not a user masyado of Jamovi as compared to SPSS. Okay, so there. All right. Thanks RM. Okay, so to the question of do you still need to report the means? Yes, you still need to report the means.
Ma'am, I'll just clarify also from the chat. Meron kasi sa chat. So if we'll report the F ratio of education level, it's F, and then for the first DF is 2, and then residual, it's 1194. And then it's equal to 8.43.
Correct.
Okay. So the second value inside the parenthesis, the second DF, is actually the residual.
That's
the
not
residual DF, sorry.
the residual DF, not the residual. Yeah.
The residual DF. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. So, yeah. So the first, kasi the parentheses, the first degree of freedom is the number of groups minus 1, and then the second is the population minus the number of groups. Okay, again, di ba? So the first is the number of groups minus 1. So there are 3 groups, right? So in education, therefore, your first DF is 3 minus 1 is equal to 2, right? And then your second DF is, what's the size of the population we're looking at? Sorry, what's the population nga?
1,200.
1,200?
200.
Okay, so 1,200, right? So 1,200 minus 3 groups is 1197, right? If it's just education level, right? The reason this is 1194 is because this is two-way ANOVA. Gets?
So you minus, ma'am, both the number of groups no each variable?
Oo. For two-way. For one-way, it's just the one number of groups of that one variable. Okay? Kasi tingnan nyo to. I don't know. Do you see this? Kung education level lang, ayan o, yung DF niya is 2. The first one is kasi 3 groups minus 1 is 2. And then 1, 2 minus 3 groups is 1197. So this is your F value if it's one-way ANOVA with just education. Okay? Questions?
Ma'am, how do we get the means po sa ANOVA?
Well, yun nga, unfortunately, if you just get ANOVA, parang wala, no? Tama ba?
Opo, parang po wala. It's only in one-way ANOVA.
Kaya nga eh, oo. But so if you want, you can run one-way ANOVA just to get the means, if that's, ano.
Okay, but for two-way ANOVA po, how do we...
What? The means will still be the same.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Last one. Sorry. Naku, 12 na pala. You want me to still do ANCOVA? Kahit na noon na. Sorry. One last. Sige. So I'll just show you. So same. Let's use the same variables. Education level. Okay. And then our dependent variable is still the belief. Okay. But this time, we will use age as a covariate. Okay. So age is, sorry, variable number yan. Age is 24, sorry.
242, ma'am.
242, thank you. Okay, so let's do age as a covariate. Okay, so what it does here is it just puts age in, but as you can see, it's not significant. So, yeah, in this case, parang age didn't really matter. But if it were significant, and then education level is also significant, the way we would report it is that there is a difference in the belief of whether men make better executives than women according to education level, even when age is controlled for. So that's how we would interpret ANCOVA. So we just say even when age is controlled for. But since this is not significant, since a covariate here is not significant, we would say there's a difference in the belief that men make better executives than women according to education level, and age was not a significant covariate. Okay, questions? Sige. So, what did we do today? So today we talked about how to write good research questions. And then we talked about when you would use a t-test, which is when you have two groups, versus ANOVA, which you use when you have three or more groups, two or more groups, or three groups or more. And both t-test and ANOVA require continuous dependent variables, unlike the chi-squared. And we would only, in ANOVA, we would need post hoc tests when the overall F is significant to tell us the relationship between the various groups, which groups are significantly different from each other. Okay? So we have 2 more weeks to sort of absorb this and get the technical and parang the content right. We'll meet again in 2 weeks to do last check before your exercise is due. I think DevPsych people, kayo yung host in 2 weeks, no? So please prepare icebreaker recap, and then we will just do Q&A. Similar to today, if you want, you can send to RM your questions that you would like me to cover, and I will do that. Okay. But I'm also emailable naman within the next 2 weeks. Are there any questions?
Last question, ma'am.
Go, Carlos.
How do we interpret if both homogeneity and normality are violated?
We would state that. Normally, we would state that as part of the, di ba you report first the assumptions? So you report that was violated. The assumptions were violated. Okay.
But we still proceed, ma'am, with the let's say independent t-test, or we need to look for another statistical test? Hindi naman.
Well, yung iba, actually, it depends on your sample size. Kasi, di ba, another concept that we need to consider is how big your sample size is. The violation of assumptions is typically more critical when you have a smaller sample size. But when you have a big sample size like this, the common rule of thumb is you report it, but it's okay. Parang ganun.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am?
Go ahead.
I have a question about the exercise po. Nakasulat po sa exercise, ma'am, that we have to identify our research problem that will need t-test, ANOVA, and ANCOVA. That means we'll have 3 different research problems, one for t-test, one for ANOVA, and one for ANCOVA.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So parang similar siya to, I'm guessing, what you just showed us now, na parang, or completely different ba? Kasi the one you showed us, parang medyo cohesive siya. So
Yes.
is that what's expected, ma'am?
Sana. Sana, parang weird naman kung iba-iba yung DV nyo pa, di ba? So, I think it would make your life simpler and my life simpler if you just stick with one DV and just change your IVs na lang. Okay.
Okay lang if we build on our previous submission.
Yes, certainly.
Kahit na ma'am nagamit siya sa examples.
Ngayon, what example?
Well, yung previous, ma'am, kasi ako, particularly, I used yung life satisfaction dun sa first ko. But it was used, I think, in some of your examples. Okay lang naman yun.
Okay. Okay lang. What I actually thought you would do even more, okay, than just building on your previous is, remember in the exercise 2, I asked you to explore constructs that exist. Right? Di ba nag-factor analysis kayo, nag-reliability testing kayo. So, what you can do is, instead of just one item DVs, you can also use the constructs that you were able to discover. So, for example, Mariel, what was your construct nga?
Like the perceived justifiability of morally debatable behaviors, ma'am. Tapos yung na-extract ko, one was about parang sex and marriage, I think, ma'am. Then the other about life.
Okay. So there are 2 ways you can do this, okay? The most basic is one sample DV lang kayo. One item DV, okay? Papasa kayo doon. But if you want a higher score, parang gamitin ninyo yung ginamit ninyong scale, gumawa kayo ng score for that scale, and that is what you use as your DV. Does that make sense? Marunong ba kayo gumawa nun?
Is that like a transformed score? Or?
That's a compute score.
Compute.
So for example, ano ba? Sige, can somebody just shout out to me 2 to 3 variables? Justifiable, justified, what was that? Give me a set of questions that we can create.
Ma'am, justifiable yung acts of violence, the last 3 variables in the justifiable scale.
Okay. Okay. For example, that. Okay. So, what would be your formula? Maybe you want to create the mean. Can you give me the 3 variables?
208, 209, and 210, ma'am.
Okay. 208,
208, 209, and 210.
There. So you can actually create a new score for the justifiable, how violence is justifiable. There. Okay. And there. That's your new DV.
Ma'am, so if we use the scale we did last exercise, do we just copy and paste our psychometric measures?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pero, you use that, your psychometric, yung factor analysis reliability, nasa method section siya, ha?
Yes,
Hindi
ma'am.
sa result section.
Yes, ma'am.
So, to add to that, so if we use yung previous namin, then let's say when I did the factor analysis, ang daming items yung okay nang tanggalin.
Tanggalin mo na yan.
Okay.
Tanggalin mo na.
Alright.
Oo. So, pwedeng, para hindi masyado komplikado, kunyari, madami kayong subscales, right? Pwedeng pumili na lang, at least for this exercise, pwedeng pumili lang muna kayo ng isang subscale lang, para hindi masyado complex as your DV. Okay? And then, revolve your research question around that. So, that way, pag nag-report kayo, kompleto kayo. So, meron kayong, pag nag-report kayo ng measure, meron din kayong mare-report na reliability. Diba? Meron din kayong mare-report na validity. As opposed to just using one item as your DV. So, parang, again, parang that's what we're saying in terms of complexity. So, parang we are layering your knowledge so that you're building on the different skills that you are learning one by one. So halimbawa, meron kayong subscales na na-discover, pero hindi lahat ng subscales ninyo reliable. Di ba? May ganon. Pumili na lang kayo ng isang subscale na reliable din. Tapos use that as your main DV for the exercise. Okay? Questions? Humihirap na, no? Any more? Are we good? Can I just see, can you let me know if you're okay na? Any more questions?
Ma'am, I have a question pala.
Yes, Trisha, go.
In terms of factor loading, is it possible to include 0.30 up?
Pwede naman. Pwede naman as long as...
Hindi strictly 0.40.
Hindi naman. Pwede naman. Sabi nga natin, di ba, parang the bigger the sample size, kahit mas maliit yung factor, okay lang. At the end of the day, basta maayos yung reliability ng scale. At saka, and the items make sense together. Yun naman yun din.
Yes,
na parang, the items have to make sense. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, the next exercise is gonna be a little bit more complex na. Kasi parang we're building a little bit more from just picking out one item at a time. So if you can build on what you've done in the previous exercise, that's much better.
Ma'am?
Yes, Ina.
Pero ano po, ma'am, if example, dun sa previous exercise, we got 3 subscales, but for this exercise, we only want to use 1, do we still have to report the reliability and validity of the other subscales or just the one we're using?
You can report just the one that you're using.
Okay, thank you.
Kung gusto nyo karirin, pwede naman more than 2, pero pwedeng subukan nyo muna isa. Okay lang. That's much better already than just one item DVs. Okay. Fight. Kaya niyan. All right. So, in 2 weeks, I will meet you again in case you still have lingering questions. But begin to think about your questions and prepare your research problems. So, yun nga, test either find variables that you want to use as your IV. 2 groups and then more than 3 groups. Yeah. And then 1 make covariate. Okay, just try to make sure na medyo make sense naman yung mga choice niyo of of covariates and of your IVs also. All right. Wow, super extended class. Sige. I'll see you again in 2 weeks. And if you have questions for that week, just email me or email REM so we can prepare for that. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, RM.